It's called the Smokin' Hat Podcast.
Who's going to win this battle of the lumberjacks?
Yeah, controversy is just good.
By no account is any of this true.
International politics.
Oh, but you have to be aware of the optics.
You gotta be aware. And dude,
I don't really wash my hands ever.
We lost a significant amount of our deposit.
Those who have perpetrated this hoax.
History.
The young Turks, probably the old Turks, but
three coups a decade or something. But
there's actually rules against me being involved in domestic politics.
And anything else that grabs them.
You guys know that Eric Adams is the mayor today?
Currently, yeah.
Donald J. Trump, he's got nothing to hide.
They don't know what they're doing.
You're like, oh, okay, that tracks a little bit better.
Okay, I gotta remember that.
We sure hope you enjoy it.
All right, folks. Welcome to the show. Tonight, I'm flying the ship solo. Our man, Farmer Jim, has been out there on the farm. He was putting in T-posts, maybe pulling out T-posts. I don't really know what that means. He sent it to me in the WhatsApp, though. And then also he's got bowling tonight, monthly bowling league, and I get it. Bowling is important. Big Lebowski and whatnot. I bowled in high school. Had a good little run there. I don't know if I ever I think my high score was probably 180, maybe. I don't know if I ever broke 200. And I definitely messed up my elbow trying to bowl the correct way, flipping the ball, hit the pins, kick it to the back left corner, get that other one going to the right. It's all about pin action when you're bowling. But anyway, I'm going to be flying the ship solo. We're going to be all right. All right, so tonight we got a long laundry list of chaos. And a couple hilarious things that happened as well, but mostly chaos. First thing we're going to do is we are going to dig into a leaked report that came out in the Washington Post. The Washington Post got their hands on a slide deck. Oh boy, a slide deck from, I think, Boston Consulting Group. I'm not positive. It's not signed. Maybe that tells you a little bit something about this slide deck. Doesn't tell you who prepared it. But we're going to take a look at it, all about redeveloping Gaza. I guess it was, I don't know who it was delivered to. Was it delivered to Witkoff, the man in the Middle East? Who knows? But it got leaked to the Washington Post. So we'll go through that a little bit. We got another check-in on our pals, Vladimir Putin, Modi, and Xi Jinping hanging out, riding around in limos. Limos are having a comeback. I feel like limos went away for a while. They were gauche. They were not that cool. But now limos are having a moment. Limos in Alaska, Donnie and Vladdy, palling around on the tarmac out there in Anchorage. And then, not sure where this one was. Was it in Shanghai? Might have been. Modi was palling around in Vladdy's limo. Not a Cadillac. I don't know what it was. What is the Russian car? They probably have one. Skoda? No, it's not Skoda. Skoda? I think that's Czech. I don't know what the Russian car is. But anyway, they were palling around inside of that one. And then we got an update on our old friend Tammy Bruce. Anyway, let's jump into this slide deck from hell about Gaza. All right, let's get the screen share set up and cooking here. Here we go. We're going to add it to the stage. That's too small. Let's go bigger. There we go. All right, ad blocker's up to date. That's so exciting. Okay, U.S. would control Gaza, displace all its people under new plans. This is a recent report. This was in AFP, ended up on Yahoo, but I think the original was the Washington Post. It all stems from this slide deck, which I had the pleasure of annotating. All right, here we go. Chrome makes PDFs even better. Great. Good to know, Chrome. Thanks for your help. Okay, so here is our slide deck. The Great Trust. The Great being an acronym for the Gaza Reconstitution, Economic Acceleration, and Transformation. Trust. Okay, so here we go. Slide number 1. And again, I think this is from Boston Consulting Group. I went through the whole thing all the way down to the bottom. Sometimes you see like an authorship page down here at the bottom. Let's take a look all the way down. Nope, nothing. Just kind of a SimCity-like graphic down there. So I couldn't find an author, but I think the reporting was Boston Consulting Group, who has, I think, stepped away from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. I think maybe from this project, but this was a slide deck that was prepared and shared. All right, so the Great Trust. Here you go. The Gaza Reconstitution, Economic Acceleration, and Transformation Trust will transform Gaza and integrate it into the Abrahamic fabric in the broader IMEC initiative. Okay, the Abrahamic fabric. This is a new term for me. And I've been hanging around the Middle East, literally physically since like 2010, studying it since 2008. Abrahamic fabric's a new one for me. I guess maybe this stems from the Abraham Accords. This is what we're doing now. We're doing fabrics, Abrahamic fabrics. Can't say I've heard that one before, but the plan is to integrate it into the Abrahamic fabrics. Okay. 70 billion to 100 billion in public investment. Public investment going into Gaza. Okay, interesting. Who's paying for that? It's not clear. But a U.S.-led multilateral custodianship. And you will see what that means. Does it mean troops on the ground? Kind of does. It means, I think, a Tesla gigafactory on the ground, as we'll see. Does it mean U.S. troops? Maybe. But it might also mostly mean every private military contractor whose logo you've ever seen in a documentary or seen in a scary news article being brought in to provide security for said Tesla gigafactories. We'll get to that in a second. The plan, they will have does not rely on donations. So you don't have to worry. It's going to come from, from business interests. It's going to come from the sky. We're going to rebuild Gaza. It's not going to cost anyone a penny, I guess. Okay, innovative funding models. We have land trusts and we have tokens. We got the blockchain at work in the new Gaza, right? You remember the 1948, a lot of the Palestinians still have the keys to their homes. During this slide deck provided ethnic cleansing, as you'll see, you will not get the keys. You will have a digital token that entitles you to a new apartment on top of maybe where your village used to be. That seems to be what's coming down the pipe based on our Boston Consulting Group slide deck here. Okay, social impact. Wow, 1 million jobs created. Unbelievable. 13,000 new hospital beds. A very interesting graph coming up, trying to explain why. Why do they need so many hospital beds? What happened to all the other hospital beds? I think that's a good question, not addressed in the 38 slides of this slide deck. The return on investment. Wow, the ROIs on this slide deck. $324 billion in assets. Oh my gosh, a $385 billion return on a $100 billion investment. Good work if you can get it. It always looks good in the slide deck. And then the U.S. strategic benefits. Here you go. The Abrahamic regional architecture. So we're leaning into this Abrahamic theme, which again is not something I had heard. I guess the Abraham Accords is when this comes out to begin with. But the Abrahamic fabric, this is a new one for me. But the plan is to do what? How are we going to make all this money? Well, the goal is a thriving Gaza at the crossroads of the new Abrahamic architecture. Okay, and here's a map with a lot of lines drawn on it. Very interesting, this map, because it's bizarre. It leans on historic trade routes that I think, dating back to, I don't know, like, Muhammad's time, perhaps, right? This land route all the way down through Saudi Arabia. And then we have the incense trade route, India, Yemen, Arabia, Europe, and then the sea route, Egypt, Gaza to Babylon. Babylon. That's what we're talking about here. We're going all the way back to the Babylonian times. This is what you get when you pay Boston Consulting Group. You get references to Babylon. Really good stuff. Great David Gray song. I'm not sure what they're getting at here with it. But this is the new plan. We're going to have two different major trading routes. Now, there are some questions I had about this map in particular. So Gaza, of course, being here at the point where the Palestinian territories in Israel meet with Egypt, right there. Now, do you need a trade route through here? It's a good question. There is a rather famous canal, I think 100 miles. I'm trying to remember. I took a bus one time from not near Gaza, from Taba, but I came all the way across the Sinai. I went over it, or did I go under it? I don't remember. But it's a very famous canal, the Suez Canal right there. Currently already exists and does brisk business. So I guess the plan is just to make another trading route right there. Maybe, perhaps that is something that's important. I am not sure, but it seems like their plan is to ship things to Gaza, put them on trucks, or maybe high-speed rail, as you'll see, get it all the way down to Yemen. I don't know if you've heard about what's going on in Yemen, but Yemen features prominently in this map as a trading point. Get it all the way down to Yemen, and then I think put it back on boats. So boat, truck, boat. And remember, right here, a rather famous canal where you wouldn't need the truck part. And, I'm just a small business owner. I don't know a lot about global trade, but I imagine unloading and then reloading a ship when 100 miles away, you don't need to do that. I don't know. Okay. I do listen to Bloomberg Radio sometimes because that old guy, Tom Keene, makes me laugh. I don't know a lot about business, but I don't know if that makes a ton of sense. But anyway, let's keep going. We got a lot more to cover here in this slide deck. Okay. Gaza's economy to Dow. Okay. Now, I don't know if this is on me or if this is on them. There are some typos in this seemingly very expensive slide deck. We got a Dow instead of a today. You'd love to see AI clean that up, or at least the interns. Although from what I'm hearing, the interns are toast. These poor kids, they were just grinding through those Wharton MBAs, making slide decks. No more. But I don't know if AI missed it or if the summer intern was hungover. Anyway, Gaza's economy today, we have a total collapse post-Hamas takeover. Okay, as long as Hamas rules, the worth of the Gaza Strip, according to this slide deck, is practically $0. Now, that is really in-depth analysis. 3 sentences. That was the context they provided for, at the moment, Gaza being worth $0. Now, I wonder if it's just Hamas that made it worth $0? Any other factors at work there in the total destruction of the Gaza economy? I don't know. Didn't come up in the slide deck, unfortunately. So suppose we'll just take BCG's word on it. Okay, unemployment rates through the roof, as they can show right here, 2023, 2024. Look at this big gap, right? Really massive unemployment rates. I wonder what's going on right there. They don't really mention it. I wonder if there's something else happening in Gaza. Not mentioned. Okay. The regional vision. IMEX bridge to the Mediterranean. Here's where we really get into it. Our old pal Mohammed bin Salman, that big fella who once upon a time chopped up, dismembered Jamal Khashoggi, journalist, Washington Post, U.S. green card holder. Also likes his golf and his soccer, from what I can tell. He has big plans, it looks like. There is some wonderful stuff in the legend on the right side here. We have existing/planned rail. Same color on the map right here. Existing and planned rail. That seems like something you might want to do 2 colors on, right? Existing. Okay, I'll give you existing. Existing and planned in the same one. I got no sense of how feasible this is, but we're going to be running high-speed rail all over the Saudi desert. We're going to be putting in major ports. It is a strategic location. Okay. Now we're moving down. Reimagining Gaza. We have 10 mega projects. This is where, the BCG people are really starting to put their brains to work, put those MBAs to work. That's what we like to see in a BCG slide deck. Okay. We have Trump Town, and there's a name for it up here. These blue dots, the Gaza Trump Riviera and Islands. World-class resorts along the coastline and on small artificial islands similar to the Palm Islands in Dubai. Okay, so you've seen the photos. Maybe you've been there. I was there 2010. Things were not going well when I went to Dubai in 2010. I don't know if you heard. There was a bit of an economic slowdown, 2008 to 2014. It was a little grim when I was in Dubai. It was shiny, but it was empty. But I did see those islands, and they were sort of cool to look at. I think if I was a fish or a turtle, I would be less excited about those palm tree shaped islands that I saw, but there they were. And Trump in this slide is going to have some resorts similar style. And then now we start to learn the MBS ring. We're going to have a ring road, a beltway around Gaza. We're going to call it the MBS ring. Okay. And then look over here at these red dots. What are those red dots? The Elon Musk Smart Manufacturing Zone. Whoa. Where'd that come from? The Elon Musk Smart Manufacturing Zone. Along the Gaza-Israel border, feeding from and to the Abrahamic Gateway through the Gaza Ring. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of names. I don't know really what the hell they're talking about. But I think I know the main characters. And in the Abraham Gateway, this big star, seems to be a big truck stop, if I had to guess, based on what they said. A regional logistics hub in Rafah, connecting Gaza to Egypt, and then I guess to those train stations, maybe those ports. Sounds like they're going to build a big truck stop. And again, we're all for development of Gaza, but I think on these terms with these names, I think, you might start to see what's going on here. But the Gaza planned cities, here you go. Zero ground construction of 6 to 8 dynamic, modern, and AI-powered smart cities on the inner side of the Gaza Ring. All systems will be done through the ID-based digital system. Okay. Starting to feel a little big brothery here. Okay, we got Elon. Elon and his boys, Peter, they love the Palantir. They love the tech. We're seeing ID-based digital systems. Okay, starting to see what's going on. Now, the Gaza urban design. Who wouldn't want to live in this graph here, right? We have a big circle. We have some triangles. And then we have a freeway through the middle. And then this graphic on the right, taken from SimCity 2000. I feel like you do the earthquake and like half of these buildings are going to fall down. Did you ever do that? Playing SimCity? You build up a beautiful city. Depends on what level you're playing on, but then those natural disasters are going to hit. Or, in the case of Gaza, those man-made disasters, maybe coming from their friends up north. Okay, so that's what we're aiming for. Here you go. Advanced manufacturing example, an EV industrial zone. American electric vehicle companies will build factories and facilities for employees in northern Gaza and southern Israel. Okay, so we're going to be employing American or building with American EV companies. Do you think it's Rivian? Do you think it's Lucid? I don't think so. I don't think that's what they had in mind. Something about competing with Chinese EVs. This car down here next to the Saudi gentleman does appear to be a Tesla, but also could be an AI-generated image. So who knows what we're looking at. Here's the bottom line, folks. It's a massive, massive land grab involving blockchain registry tokens and then estimates about how many people will leave of their own volition, how many will stay. We have a custodianship, the American occupation of Gaza. As you'll see as we go down, that is going to be carried out primarily by private military contractors. And then eventually, over time, the end state, 10 years down the line, the reformed Palestinian polity will join the Abraham Accords. Okay. Hybrid security framework. They will hire GHF. There's our old friends, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, who we've talked about before. Private contractors are going to be distributing aid, security, and build and operate temporary housing zones. They've done a bang-up job with that so far, literally a bang job. Plenty of gunfire, plenty of murdered Palestinians seeking aid. So keep an eye on that. I don't know if that's exactly the way we want to go. Vetted Gazans are trained by the GHF and gradually increase their share of the security force. Okay. We are, I don't know, it sounds like a lot of things historically that have not gone well. Plan calls for major investment in Western PSC to ensure near-term security. Okay, right here, cost per year. Look at that. The costs go down, the money goes up. That's how these slide decks work, baby. You're making money by the end. Trust me. No one's ever made a slide deck where you're not making money by the end. GHF is back. Their guiding principles. There you go. They're 6 months into delivering aid in Gaza. So, of course, they should spearhead the rebuilding of an entire country in some sort of Orwellian digital Big Brother state. Effective Hamas-free aid delivery. There's our friends from GHF. They've been doing so well so far. Why wouldn't you give them the job? Down here is where it gets pretty grim. Down here. Communities with life support. That's what they're going to provide. Life support. How generous of them. It assumes 75% of Gazans will remain, and then 90% of Gazans who remain will require temporary housing. Now, why is that? Where were they living before? Interesting question, not addressed here in the slide deck. It is, as I wrote down here, it is ethnic cleansing via slide deck. Think of all the different slide decks some historical monstrosities could have been laid out in. Start thinking. Okay, coming down. Look at that. The value of Gaza. We're going to increase the value of Gaza. What a way to speak about a place. The value of Gaza to $324 billion from $0 today. A place right now with millions of people in it. They quite flippantly list as being worth $0 today. This is the Boston Consulting Group, I think. If we cleanse better, the numbers get better. Here you go. Levers to reduce investment. Increase the number of Gazans who volunteer to leave during reconstruction. There you go. That's how we can lower the investment. We don't have to build and provide quote unquote life support for those who stay. If they leave, cheaper on our end. Okay. Another big thing they focus on is the hospital system, repair of all current facilities. 36 hospitals. What happened to those 36 hospitals? Not mentioned in the slide deck. All right, let's keep going down. Primary investment categories. Gets a little dry down here, but there are some amusing little things. The Bin Laden Group. Students of history will recall the Bin Laden Group here going to be involved. The Gaza initial infrastructure rebuild. IKEA catching a stray here. I wonder if they know they're in the slide deck. There's going to be an IKEA. Seems to be the suggestion. It doesn't say that. But the logo is there. So maybe they'll be providing meatballs. Who knows? But there it is, IKEA. Gaza security. Look at this. This is a picture of men with guns. Their vests say the word raid. It just says raid. And then there you go. G4S, Academy. Is that how we say that now? Academy. DynCorp, again, students of recent American history, the Iraq War. You'll remember some of these names, and don't worry, nothing ever went wrong with these folks. That is the plan, to have them come in. They do have some great ideas about building a ton of functional schools. I certainly hope that happens. I'm skeptical based on other aspects of this slide deck, but absolutely. Public-private partnerships. We're going to have fast trains apparently zipping around. And there it is, private industry, Tesla. Again, I don't know that Tesla even knows that they're in this slideshow, but the people who prepared the slide deck throw their logo in there. IHG getting in here, the International Hotel Group. It's okay. Nothing wrong with an IHG hotel. It's not my favorite. It's not a Marriott Bonvoy. But there it is, IHG, even a Mandarin Oriental. Wow. Very bougie. And of course, a Tesla Gigafactory. Financial modeling, yada, yada, yada. Again, here it comes, levers to reduce investment. They need to ethnically cleanse better. That will lower their cost. And also international aid contributions to lower expenses. So this business proposition to quote unquote raise the value of Gaza from 0 to $324 billion. If international aid gives it free stuff, that will lower the investment. Okay, good stuff there. Got to go to business school and learn that one. Okay, expected investment from private industry. Number go up here. Number go up. Number go up. How exciting. Down here. Permanent housing, as you can see down here, it is around 0%. Now, I'm not sure if that means a current 0% or just starting at zero, but it seems like not a great place to start. And again, you would wonder why. Why is permanent housing starting at 0% in Gaza? Did something happen? No mention of it in the slide deck. Okay, non-major investment again. Numbers go up, expenses go down. How exciting. A $320 billion asset value by year 10 will create significant value for all involved stakeholders. And again, if you have one of those NFTs, if you have been ethnically cleansed, I think the amount was $5,000. How lucky. So there you go. There is the Great Trust slideshow leaked to the Washington Post. Again, I'm not sure how actionable this is, but it was created by someone. Perhaps Woodcoff commissioned it. Who knows? But it was floating around. It ended up in the hands of the Washington Post. And there you go. So this is right now the thinking, at least among some, about the future of Gaza as it relates to the United States. There you go. All right. So anyway, grim reading. Consultants, what are you going to do? I read a book a couple years ago called McKinsey Comes to Town, or When McKinsey Comes to Town. Really enlightening book. It was 6 or 7 case studies of the negative impacts of when McKinsey comes in and takes over your town, your company, whatever you got going on. A great book, but again, grim reading. They came to Disney. They cut the janitorial or the maintenance staff. Thunder Mountain Railroad went off the rails. Again, who knows if it's a 1-to-1 correlation when that happened. But many such cases of that sort of consultant level thinking. There was another interesting book in some interviews I was watching, a book called The Big Con, about the takeover of government capacity by consulting firms. I think it focused mostly on the UK, a little bit on the US. But there was someone in the UK, a lord. I forget what that means to be a lord, but this guy called it the infantilization of government. I think it was during COVID, and the government itself couldn't come up with any of the plans. They had to farm out plans and then vote on those plans. And that does seem to be the way things work these days. Is not a lot of politicians coming up with big, complex ideas. When you think about think tanks, consulting firms, they generate the plan, and then maybe it gets tweaked a little bit, and then we all have to work from the plan that got developed by the consulting firm or by the think tank. And that's just kind of the state of affairs. Seems like an erosion of responsibility. It's not, you think of FDR and, all of these great social programs. And I don't, I'm sure he had support, but it didn't come from McKinsey. I think it came more internally from FDR and from people's ideas. Feels like these days you get less and less kind of big thinking from the politicians themselves. Comes from the outside, comes from the think tank, comes from the consultant, and then you fire it down the pipeline, you get feedback on it, and you work from there. Anyway, there you go. Consulting in foreign policy, probably not great. The Great Trust report did generate a response from CARE, which is the Center for Arab and Islamic Relations, something like this, in D.C. The reported proposal for a U.S.-Israeli takeover of Gaza and the mass theft of Palestinian land through a digital token scheme is not only morally abhorrent and illegal under international law, it would amount to war crime of historic proportions that would spark generations of conflict and forever stain America's legacy. Our nation does not have the moral or legal right to take ownership of a single square foot of Gaza, and neither does the Israeli government. Gaza must be rebuilt under the supervision of indigenous Palestinian leadership as part of a unified Palestinian state free from foreign occupation. So there is your statement from CARE. Okay. So moving on from that rather kind of grim modern bit of foreign policy to our outcome from the exciting meeting in Alaska. So 2 weeks ago, last time we talked, Putin and Trump hanging out on the red carpet, rolled out by the American soldiers for Vladimir. Donnie's standing there like a nervous prom date, doing his thing, clapping his hands, pacing back and forth, probably wondering what the dad is going to say. Take good care of Vlad. Take good care of Vlad for me, or else you know what? Donnie's getting nervous. And then that meeting, by most accounts, did not achieve what was hoped. We had no peace deal, no settlement, whatever Trump's term was, ceasefire. Trump said he would know within 2 minutes. He stayed for a couple hours. He did leave a little bit earlier than expected. And here we are 2 weeks later. And what is Vlad up to? Vlad is running around Shanghai with Narendra Modi, running around Shanghai with Xi, the Shanghai Cooperation Council, something like this, SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, maybe. They are hanging out in Shanghai. They are buddying up. They're pairing up. No American presence at this meeting, or at least no formal one that I could see on TV. Just a lot of Vlad. I think the big kind of bit of news out of that was Modi riding around in Vlad's limo. The beast, the Russian beast, whatever the equivalent would be in Russian, I don't know. And then the other one, I think there was like a hot mic, and Xi was talking to Vladimir about organ replacement and how he thinks he can live to be 150 years old, and how maybe you could potentially live forever if we start growing organs for ourselves. Clearly, Xi has not read Gulliver's Travels. Would you ever want to be 900 years old? It's a good question. Something to think about tonight, Xi. But anyway, no American presence. We got no peace deal. Nothing, no movement on that front. Just a lot of Russian attacks on Ukraine. And Xi thinking about living forever. And then Modi, as you can see here, hanging with Vladdy in the Russian beast. There you go. So there you go. That is 2 weeks worth of diplomacy out of the United States has gotten us to this photo, and everybody running around Shanghai, and not much news on the old Ukraine front. Okay. Next thing. This was going around today. The U.S. bombed, is that the right word? Struck a small Venezuelan boat. Marco Rubio and the boys are replaying the film Clear and Present Danger. Which, to be fair, is it the best, Jack Ryan? I don't know if it's the best. It is very good, though. I think Hunt for Red October is probably the best of the films. But Clear and Present Danger is probably second. I think Patriot Games comes third. And then all the new stuff doesn't count once you get to Ben Affleck. Some of All Fears, and then everything new. Not for me. But of the Harrison Ford, Alec Baldwin verse, yeah, I think I go October 1, Clear and Present Danger 2, Patriot Games 3. But the U.S. has sent a whole lot of military naval assets down to the Caribbean, hanging off the Venezuelan coast. You can see right here, got your nice military map. I'm not sure exactly the power and meaning of each of those icons. I mean, it tells me amphibious assault ships, yada, yada, yada. But it seems like a fair amount of firepower hanging off the coast of Venezuela. And what did we do with said firepower?
The moment when U.S. military forces deployed to the South Caribbean to target Venezuelan drug smugglers.
Just have a quick look at that boat. Appears to be a skiff, quite small. And again, go back to that graphic of all the firepower we have there. Appear to be about 4 or 5 guys on there.
Hit their first boat.
There you go.
Killing 11 people.
Got a skiff. Nailed a wooden skiff. Supposedly a Tren de Aragua skiff carrying narcotics. I heard it was going to Trinidad. Maybe that's like the first stop on the highway up to the United States. I don't know. I can't imagine you get a skiff from Venezuela all the way to Miami or to the Keys. I don't know. But did that. Not sure why. I haven't gotten a lot of feedback on that. I think Marco Rubio said he did it to send a message. Send a message. What message? I don't know. No, I don't know if the Tren de Aragua skiff guys are going to get it. But there you go. So that is how our Navy's being used at the moment. Down there in Venezuela, is it legal? Are we at war with Venezuela? It was in international waters. I don't know if that makes a huge difference in this case. But there you go. So destroyed a small wooden, or maybe not wooden, but a small skiff carrying 11. Maybe there were 2 skiffs carrying 11 supposed members of Tren de Aragua. Okay, there's your American military update for the week. Next one, our old friend Laura Loomer once famously chained herself to the doors of Twitter headquarters here in New York, but she didn't chain the door shut. So people were just coming and going past her, and she was chained to the door, and everybody just had to walk by her. I think the actual sort of civil disobedience is you take the handcuffs, you run them through both doors, through the bar, and you get a double lock. And then you're really sending a message. Hey, I'm locked in here. This will not stand. And I think it was because she got shadow banned or she got banned on Twitter for saying insane things. This was 2017, I think it happened. These days, she seems to be a major player somehow in the Trump cabinet. And their most recent move was Mark Warner, Senator Mark Warner, Virginia, is that right? Was going to ranking Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, was going to the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and it was nixed by Pete Hegseth's office after social media posts by Laura Loomer. Now, apparently this was a highly classified meeting about AI. Kind of makes you wonder how Laura Loomer knows that Mark Warner is going over to I think it was at the CIA. Is it at the CIA? No, maybe it's a different building. But anyway, was going to a highly classified meeting with intelligence officials, and Laura Loomer found out and threw up this tweet. And then I think hours or the next day, the meeting gets canceled. So let's take a look at what Laura posted. Here you go. Scoop. This is Laura on August 31st. Trey Whitworth, the director of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, is hosting Russia hoaxer Senator Mark Warner for a fireside chat at NGA on September 5th, 2:30 to 3:30 in the Alder Auditorium at NGA in Washington, D.C. Why are the Pentagon and IC allowing the director of an intel agency to host a rabid anti-Trump Democrat senator at the NGA under the Trump administration? Why? I think it's because they have oversight over the intelligence agencies. I think, Laura. Clearly, a lot of deep state actors are being given a pass in the intel community to continue their efforts of sabotage of Trump under the Trump administration. Hi, DNI Gabbard. This is how you communicate in the Trump administration. Make sure to tag your cabinet member whose attention you need to get. You got to tag them. If you want to move the needle in the intel community, you better be out there on X tagging Tulsi. Or else Tulsi's out there catching those bad waves down in Delaware. She wants to be in Hawaii. Let's be honest, okay? Does Tulsi look like she's having fun? No. Okay, she wants to be doing yoga with that guy, Chris Butler, out in Hawaii, catching some waves, I would imagine. That's what I would do. If I were Tulsi, I would be catching the surf, living that yoga life. You know, instead of getting yelled at by that lady who chained herself to the Twitter headquarters about Mark Warner. But that's just me. Okay, does anyone do any vetting? 4 question marks there from Laura. She's really asking that question. Does anyone do any vetting? Is anyone even looking out for Donald Trump over the quote unquote long weekend? What does that mean? Is she suggesting it's not a long weekend? It was. The 31st was Sunday. Still had Monday. Monday the 1st. I think Donnie was out golfing, as it turns out, or at least creating the illusion of golf. Who knows? But he's still with us. Anyway, is anyone even looking out for Donald Trump, as Kamala Harris calls interesting? And then you get Pete Hegseth and the boys over at the Pentagon. Warner's not allowed to go. And then here's what Warner had to say in response to Laura Loomer. Let's take a look. This is from the Washington Post. It wasn't the agency's leadership that canceled the visit, though, but instead Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's office, Warner said. The trip had been classified, he said, which means whoever shared it with Loomer, who does not hold a job in the administration, leaked the information. Interesting. How did a trolling blogger get access that there was a classified meeting going on? It's a great question, Mark Warner. It's a great question. One I don't have an answer to. Anyway, so there you go. Mark Warner not getting his AI fireside chat with the Geospatial Intelligence Agency because Laura Loomer got tipped off by somebody, and then she yelled at Tulsi Gabbard on Twitter. And this is how American foreign policy rolls on, folks. Okay, the other thing I wanted to bring up, I spend a little bit of time, too much time, on that website, formerly known as Twitter, currently known as X.com, the Everything app. Spend a little bit of time on there, probably too much. And I had noticed that last summer, it was a miserable place to be. Just chaos on there, just violence, cities being overrun, yada, yada, yada. This summer, less. And, you always wonder, is this a true reflection of reality? Might be, but it might not be. I'm not sure. I've been told that there's some algorithms doing some funny business. I heard there's some knobs out there in San Francisco. Is that where Twitter is, San Francisco? There's some knobs you can tweak, I think. And if there weren't, I think Elon installed a couple knobs. And he likes to twist those knobs. And I noticed that in the last 2 weeks, I was getting a lot of UK is being overrun content. Because I'm like you, I'm not on my straight feed anymore because it's too boring. I need the algorithmic stimulation, right? It knows me well, I think, or it's trying to know me, or it's telling me what it thinks I want to hear. And I noticed that the For You page was being flooded with this Tommy Robinson fella. A lot of anti-immigrant UK stuff. And I don't know if there's a coincidence with what's been going on in the States. Maybe we're trying to shift our attention across the pond. I was just over in the UK. I didn't notice any overrunning. Spent a little bit of time in Glasgow and then popped around Scotland a little bit. Didn't notice a huge amount of overrunning. Met some lovely people. Had a great time. But anyway, I did notice that in the last couple of days, that thing was getting cranked up. Now, there's a big thing going on with free speech. Twitter will tell you that they're arresting people for posts on Twitter. It's a major threat to the First Amendment, which doesn't exist over there. But anyway, this is what people get worked up about on X, the Everything app these days. The big guy over there, Nigel Farage, runs is it the Reform Party? I should know this. The UKIP party. Anyway, kind of right-wing guy, kind of a Trump aspiration guy, wishes he was Trump, but he's not. He came over to the United States to testify about free speech. Ended up, I think this was today, before Jamie Raskin I'm not sure what committee this was, but Raskin had a couple of minutes with him. And let's take a listen to what Jamie had to say to Mr. Nigel Farage.
In the UK, Mr. Farage is openly promoting the abolition of the Human Rights Act of 1998 to be replaced with a British Bill of Rights that limits the right of free speech to British citizens and legally sanctioned residents. He complains that racist threats against immigrants are not protected free speech, while he proposes to strip migrants, tourists, and perhaps even visiting American congresspeople of any free speech rights at all. I had my own close encounter with that when Mr. Farage and his team presented for more than an hour in a conversation we had about free speech. And after 3 minutes of talking, he cut me off and terminated the meeting because he didn't like what I was saying. That's the kind of free speech he's committed to. There is a free speech crisis in America today, but there's no free speech crisis in.
Can I just say, let's just take a moment here. This is not the move. I think with cameras around, even though I bet it feels good to hit him with a little face and a little kind of, a little sarcastic, a little condescending nod. Oh yeah, you really got me there. It doesn't play. Okay, I've tried this. I've tried this in a lot of different arguments. I have not been successful. Get a lot of negative reactions. I want Nigel to know that, unfortunately, I know it feels good. I know it feels right. I know you're mad. I've been mad. I've had people say things I don't like to me. It's hard. It's super hard to deal with. It's very challenging. But this is not a great look. And I think there were a few more clips like this. But let's see how how Jamie finished off with Nigel here.
He's committed to. There is a free speech crisis in America today, but there's no free speech crisis in Britain. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has not shut down GB News, where Mr. Farage has his own show, just because Mr. Farage has used his airtime to call for banning peaceful protests that he disagrees with. No one has stopped him from going on Russian TV 17 times and saying also and repeating that the one world political leader he most admired was Vladimir Putin, even though Vladimir Putin is a war criminal and a dictator who has regularly interfered in other countries' democratic elections. No one has stopped Mr. Farage from parroting Putin's absurd talking points, like when Farage claimed that NATO, the US and Britain provoked this war in Ukraine. For a man who fashions himself as some kind of a free speech martyr, Mr. Farage seems most at home with the autocrats and dictators of the world who are crushing freedom on earth. Mr. Farage wants to get rid of the Online Safety Act in his country, a law shepherded by the Conservative Party and implemented by the Labour Party, which bans child pornography online, protects children from harmful content, forbids non-consensual pornography and other unlawful content. He should go and advance the positions he's taking here in Congress today in Parliament, which is meeting today, if he's serious about it. To the people of UK who think this Putin-loving free speech imposter and Trump sycophant will protect freedom in your country, come on over to America and see what Trump and MAGA are doing to destroy our freedom, kidnap college students off the street, ban books from our libraries, militarize our police and unleash them against our communities, take over our universities, wreck our professional civil service, and turn the government into a money-making machine for Trump and his family. You might think twice before you let Mr. Farage make Britain great again.
Not bad. Not bad, Jim. It's tough at the end, though. The twink when he meant to say think. I've been there. You're like about to nail him. Get like a little ahead of yourself, just like a half step. And then you're about to drop the hammer with that think twice. You hit him with a twink twice. Oh, tough. He handled it well. He kept it moving. But anyway, so a couple tips there for Nige. You know, these are, I don't know where they're at with body language coaching, with this sort of, insane things we do in the United States just to, just always don't emote, don't show any reaction, keep looking straight ahead, nod your head, right? I don't know if that has made it over the pond, across the pond. Yeah, across the pond. You could sail across it. You don't have to go over it. I don't want to discriminate against our shipborne British and European colleagues. But anyway, Nigel, it's a couple tips. I get it. When you're mad, you're mad. You gotta push it down, push it deep down. Okay. Cause it's Clip City out here. It's tough. And you do not want to be getting caught, faces like this. It's tough, right? That's tough, right? They're going to run with it. You got to be careful. You got to keep it tight, but anyway, that's just me. Shout out to Jamie. Well done there. Laying into Mr. Farage. Minister Farage? I don't even know. Anyway, okay. So that's really all we got on the news front, except for one thing. Okay. Our old friend, Tammy Bruce. Okay. Now, there is so much going on, so much chaos in the world. We did have a bright spot. It was not a bright spot of competence. It was not a bright spot of empathy. It was not a bright spot of, I don't even know. The only thing that was fun about it was how, out of her depth she was, how uncomfortable she was, how unqualified she was to be there. It actually made it a pleasure to watch. Tammy Bruce, former soap opera person, maybe? I think so. Or maybe her partner was. Anyway, Hollywood person, then had a show on Fox Nation. I don't know. I don't think she even made it up to the big show. She got on that streaming service that they're always hitting you with on the back end of a Fox football game. You're trying to catch a little Panthers Saints in the late game. And then all of a sudden, there was like that Clint Eastwood show on there, Fox Nation. And it was like Clint with a big long camera. And he was like, this is how America used to be long time ago. Now I got this telephoto lens. and I'm taking pictures of the national parks that I don't really believe in national parks, but this is me taking pictures of them. So that was on Fox Nation. And then she had a show called like Catch Tammy Bruce. But, maybe Trump's watching the app. Maybe he's watching the streaming. I feel like Don Jr.'s a streamer. Anyway, where were we? Talking about Tammy Bruce and Don Jr. sitting in the back of some meeting in Belarus on his iPad watching Fox Nation. Anyway, I think that's where Tammy came from. I like to imagine that. I'm not sure. Anyway, Tammy ended up becoming the speaker. What did we say? Spokesperson for the press secretary, maybe. I don't know. She worked for the State Department. She gave the press conferences. And they were insane. Delightfully insane, delightfully incoherent. Let's see. Tammy Bruce weekend. And she had some fascinating thoughts on what constituted the weekend. Tammy, where are you? Here we go. Where are we, Tammy? Here we go. All right, so here's Tammy trying to sort out what exactly. I think this was in relation to something Donnie said, or maybe what Witkoff said. Something big was coming down the pike. Do you say pike? People say pipe, but I think it's pike. Anyway, here's Tammy giving a fascinating analysis and some clarity for anybody who wasn't sure.
It could be, of course.
By the end of the week, does that mean by Friday, by Saturday, by Sunday?
I think generally it could be the collection of the days at the end of the week. I'm not going to specify because we know how things can happen. The president is leaving on a trip today that originally he was going to be leaving on a couple days earlier. The world happens. These are men and women who are at the forefront of deliberate change, and they're determined to be managing it. So these are the people who understand, and that's a very specific thing to say, even though it was kind of end of the week. But I would say, to clarify a little bit more, I would say probably the end of the week.
There you go. No further questions, Your Honor. Now, to be fair to Tammy, and we do want to be fair to Tammy. We don't want to be unfair. When is the end of the week? Is the end of the week Saturday? Is the end of the week Sunday? Right? The calendar here in the States flips down to the next row, end of day Saturday into Sunday. So the weekend, right? A pairing of 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, kicking us into the following week. But the visual calendar kicks you, so while Tammy is a bit incoherent here and sure seems to be spinning, a very vague statement, it seems like, from our current president, I got to give her a little leeway here. I'm not sure what weekend means. If somebody said, does that mean Saturday, Sunday? Does that, it definitely means Saturday or Sunday. But by the end of the weekend, is that end of day Saturday? Is that end of day Sunday? I think I would assume Sunday. But if you really, pinned me down, I don't know that I would have a good answer on that whole, why does the calendar flip down to the next row, Saturday to Sunday? I mean, it's nice because then you got those 2 blank days on the end of the calendar. You don't fill them in. If you ever got really deep into, bullet journaling or something and you had your calendar all set up, you're not touching Saturday or Sunday. Don't be crazy. Maybe you're doing meal prep. If you're doing meal prep, maybe you're doing Saturday or Sunday. But no, day to day, it's those five boxes. That's where the action happens, right? And then life happens in those 2 blank boxes. So anyway, that was Tammy. She was our State Department spokesman, but she has sort of quietly, I don't know if it was quiet. I can't actually determine the volume level of anything that's happening right now. But she is moving on. Too many banger news conferences that we were clipping and talking about on the show. She has been nominated as Deputy UN Ambassador, which I think means Tammy wants to go to New York because Donnie doesn't give 2 toots about the UN. But Tammy might need a little break. Getting yelled at, because the thing about the State Department press corps, they're like kind of smart. Like the White House press corps, it's like a madhouse. Total chaos. But you get all these reporters at the State Department press conferences who are like, tell me what's going on in Nigeria with the thing. And Tammy's like, I don't know. Why are you asking me? What are we doing here? How did I end up in this room? I want to be on Fox Nation. I want to be on Don Jr.'s iPad. I don't want to be up here getting yelled at by all these people who like maybe know foreign languages. It's frightening. So anyway, we wish Tammy all the best, and we're going to miss her. And maybe we get her, before the UN General Council, or maybe we get her sitting on a Security Council meeting. Wouldn't that would be some content. But anyway, good luck in New York. It's where I am. It's a tough town. Keep your wits about you, Tammy, but you always do. And we wish you well. Okay, folks, that is all the news I could find for the week. I know there was more, but I missed it. That's going to happen. We'll see you again next week. Jimbo has cleared the calendar. No bowling next week, and hopefully no barn raisings either. And he'll be back next week. So we'll talk to you then. See you later.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You don't want to leave.
We'll see you all next time on the Smoke and Hat Podcast.